Imagine walking alone in the dead of the night. The air is cold, your breath quickens, and suddenly you hear a soft cry, a distant scream, or maybe just the sound of something creeping up behind you. These are true stories that send shivers down spines all over the world. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. We're here to dive into the darkest corners of the globe to bring you the most terrifying, spine-chilling stories ever told. Today, we're counting down the top 10 scariest stories from around the world. These aren't just urban legends or tall tales. These are stories that have haunted generations and continue to terrify anyone who dares to listen. From ghostly apparitions and cursed objects to mysterious disappearances, these stories span continents, cultures, and centuries. But they all have one thing in common. They'll make you sleep with the lights on. So grab a blanket, turn off the lights, if you're brave enough, and let's jump into the nightmares that lurk just beneath the surface of everyday life.
In the stillness of the night, when the air is thick with silence, you might hear a soft, chilling whisper rising from the depths of the old well. 1, 2, 3. The counting begins, faint at first, then growing louder, more desperate. As you strain to listen, a cold shiver crawls down your spine, and a dreadful weight begins to press on your chest. 9. The voice halts abruptly, as if stuck in an eternal loop of torment. But before you can react, the well's black waters ripple, and you see her. Aokigahara's pale, sunken face emerging from the darkness, her eyes wide with agony. Her icy fingers reach for you, and in that moment, you realize she isn't just counting. She's looking for you to complete her count, and once she does, you won't be able to scream. At Himeji Castle in Japan, the ghost of Aokigahara haunts the depths of the castle well. According to legend, she was a servant unjustly accused of losing a valuable plate, and as punishment, she was thrown into the well and drowned. Now, her spirit rises from the well each night, counting from 1 to 9 but never reaching 10. Her mournful voice echoes through the corridors, and those who hear her count feel an icy grip tightening around their throat, as if the ghost herself is trying to choke them in her relentless search for the missing plate. It's said that if you encounter her spirit, you may not escape the same fate.
Imagine this. You're home alone on a quiet night, when there's a knock at the door. Standing there are 2 children, their heads slightly bowed, their voices calm but unsettling as they ask to come inside. Something feels off, but you can't quite place it, until you see their eyes. Solid black, devoid of any humanity. Every instinct tells you not to let them in, yet you feel drawn to their eerie, lifeless gaze. The stories are all the same. Those who let the black-eyed children inside are never the same again. Some say they lose time, others wake up with inexplicable illnesses, and a few simply vanish without a trace. Whatever these children are, they're not here for help. They're here to take something much darker, and once they knock, you might not have a choice but to open the door. The black-eyed children are mysterious figures that have been reported worldwide since the late 1990s, described as pale, emotionless children, typically between the ages of 6 and 16. They appear at night, usually knocking on doors or approaching parked cars, asking to be let in. What makes them truly terrifying is their pitch-black eyes, completely void of color or whites. Encounters often leave witnesses with a deep sense of dread, and though their intentions remain unclear, many believe that letting them in leads to terrifying consequences.
On a dark, misty night in the Irish countryside, an eerie wail cuts through the silence, echoing across the rolling hills. The sound is chilling, like nails scraping across the soul itself. and as it fades, you know deep down that someone close to you is marked for death. You see her then, standing on the edge of the fog, hair whipping wildly, her eyes hollow and empty, her mouth open in a silent scream that shivers through your bones. You try to look away, but it's too late. The banshee has already seen you, and her lament is not just for any soul, it's for someone you love. Worse still, her cry is not a plea for mercy, it's a curse, one that seals fate in the cold grip of death. And no one can escape her wail. In Irish folklore, the banshee is a harbinger of death, a wailing spirit whose mournful cry foretells the passing of a loved one. Described as a ghostly woman with long, flowing hair, she can appear either as a beautiful young maiden or a haggard old crone, depending on the tale. Her scream, or keening, is said to pierce the night, chilling the bones of anyone who hears it. Those who encounter the banshee know that death is near, for her wail is a final, unavoidable warning.
According to the lore, the Wendigo is not merely a monster, but a manifestation of the wilderness itself, a force that preys on the weak and desperate. When individuals are driven to consume human flesh, often due to starvation or extreme hardship, they invite the spirit into their souls. The result is a grotesque transformation. Once human, they become gaunt and emaciated, with an insatiable appetite for more flesh. The Wendigo's presence is often accompanied by an overpowering stench, reminiscent of decay and rot, which sends shivers down the spine of anyone who encounters it.
The Wendigo is a mythological creature from Algonquian folklore, often described as a malevolent spirit or monster associated with cannibalism and greed. It is said to inhabit the forests of the northern United States and Canada, particularly in cold, desolate environments. The Wendigo is known for its insatiable hunger for human flesh and is often depicted as a gaunt, skeletal figure with ashen skin, glowing eyes, sharp fangs, and sometimes antlers. Legends vary, but the creature can either physically hunt people or possess humans, turning them into Wendigos with a similar craving for flesh. This possession is often linked to people who are starving, greedy, or have previously tasted human flesh. In some stories, Wendigos can mimic human voices to lure victims into isolation.
They say the boy's tear-streaked face seems to follow you wherever you go, his sorrow too deep to ignore. Owners of the painting felt uneasy, as if the boy knew something they didn't, as if his grief wasn't just on the canvas but something far darker. Then the fire started, out of nowhere, devouring everything in their path, everything but him. In the smoldering ruins, amidst the charred remains of homes, one thing is always found untouched by the inferno: the crying boy, his gaze frozen in endless mourning. Some say the boy's spirit is trapped, and the fires are his cries for release. But if you listen too closely, you might feel the heat rising around you, and by then, it's too late to escape the flames he brings. In the 1980s, a mass-produced painting known as The Crying Boy became infamous in the UK after a series of house fires. Despite these fires reducing homes to ash, the painting itself would remain eerily untouched. The strange phenomenon led to the belief that the painting was cursed, bringing tragedy wherever it hung. Numerous homeowners reported fires breaking out after acquiring the painting, but authorities could never explain why the image always survived the flames unscathed.
A haunting presence. Llorona's legend serves as a cautionary tale for children, warning them to stay close to home after dark. Parents often invoke her name to keep their kids safe from wandering too far or misbehaving. It is said that those who hear her cries are destined for misfortune or even death. Her ghostly figure is described as wearing a flowing white dress, with long hair cascading down her back, an image that evokes both beauty and terror. La Llorona, known as the Weeping Woman, is a chilling figure in Mexican folklore, haunting the dreams and nightmares of children and adults alike. This tragic spirit is said to wander the rivers and lakes, her mournful cries echoing through the night as she searches endlessly for her lost children. The legend serves as a dark reminder of despair and loss, captivating audiences with its eerie allure.
It started with faint whispers, soft, almost unintelligible, like the wind carrying secrets across the Bell family farm. But soon, the whispers turned into screams, the walls themselves echoing the sinister voice of something unseen. The Bell Witch made her presence known, and she didn't come for peace, she came for blood. She could move objects at will, slap and scratch, and no prayer or exorcism could drive her away. No one was safe under her wrath, but it was John Bell she wanted most. His health began to wither under her relentless torment, and as he grew weaker, her voice only grew louder, taunting him. In his final days, the Bell Witch didn't just haunt, she hunted, and she always got what she came for. Even now, they say her spirit lingers in the Tennessee woods, waiting for someone to cross her path. And if you hear the voice of the Bell Witch whispering your name, know this: she never forgets her enemies, and she never forgives. The Bell Witch is one of the most well-known American ghost legends, originating from the early 1800s in Adams, Tennessee. The Bell family became the target of a violent, malevolent spirit that tormented them relentlessly. The entity, known as the Bell Witch, would knock on walls, pull hair, slap faces, and speak in a disembodied voice. The haunting grew so intense that even Andrew Jackson, the future U.S. president, reportedly visited the Bell farm, only to flee in terror. The witch's hatred seemed especially directed toward the patriarch, John Bell, and it said that the spirit ultimately caused his death. To this day, the legend of the Bell Witch remains one of the most terrifying supernatural tales in U.S. history.
A night of terror. On the night of February the 1st, the hikers set up camp on the eastern slope of Quetzalcoatl, ominously known as Dead Mountain. In a frantic panic, they cut their way out of their tent and fled into the freezing wilderness, barefoot and inadequately dressed for the bone-chilling temperatures that plummeted to minus 30 degrees C, minus 22 degrees F. When search teams eventually discovered their bodies weeks later, they found them scattered across the snow, some with bizarre injuries, fractured skulls and missing eyes, while one victim was tragically missing her tongue. The tent had been slashed from the inside, suggesting a desperate escape from an unseen terror. The Dyatlov Pass incident is one of the most chilling mysteries in the annals of outdoor exploration, a tale that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who dares to delve into it. In February 1959, a group of 9 experienced Soviet hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, embarked on a trek through the treacherous Ural Mountains. What began as an adventurous expedition turned into a horrifying enigma when the group mysteriously perished under circumstances that remain unsolved to this day.
Aokigahara Forest, often dubbed the Sea of Trees, is a dense and eerie woodland, located at the base of Japan's iconic Mount Fuji, spanning approximately 30 square kilometers. This forest is notorious not only for its haunting beauty, but also for its dark reputation. The forest thrives on hardened lava from past volcanic eruptions, creating a unique landscape where the porous rock absorbs sound, enhancing an unsettling stillness that envelops visitors. Aokigahara has long been associated with tragic tales and folklore, particularly the belief that it is haunted by wire-ei, or restless spirits. This chilling atmosphere has made it a focal point for those seeking solitude in their darkest moments. Since the 1960s, it has gained infamy as a site where many have chosen to end their lives, earning it the grim nickname Forest. The forest's allure is compounded by its historical connections to death, including stories of Ubisute, where individuals were abandoned to die. In recent years, the forest has seen alarming statistics. In 2003 alone, authorities discovered 105 bodies within its depths. Signs at the entrance urge visitors to reconsider their choices and reach out for help, underscoring the somber reality that shadows this seemingly serene location.
Picture this: a dream home nestled in a quiet neighborhood becomes a living nightmare. The Lutz family was excited to start a new chapter in their lives, but from the moment they set foot inside the house, something felt wrong. Strange noises echoed in the dead of night, the walls seemed to breathe, and the house itself seemed alive, watching, waiting. Then the true horror began. George Lutz woke at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the same time the DeFeo murders had occurred. Shadowy figures moved in the corners of their vision, and the stench of death lingered in the air. It wasn't just a haunting, it was something darker, more dangerous, something hungry. As the days passed, the house gripped them tighter, trying to consume them. By the time they realized the evil that lurked within those walls, it was already too late. The house didn't want them to leave. It wanted to keep them forever. Would you stay another night, knowing the house is still waiting for its next family? The Amityville Horror is one of the most infamous hauntings in American history. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family in their house at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. A year later, the Lutz family moved into the home, unaware of its tragic past. They soon began experiencing terrifying paranormal activity, unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices, and violent, nightmarish visions. After just 28 days, they fled the house, claiming it was haunted by malevolent spirits. The chilling events were chronicled in a book and later adapted into several films, cementing Amityville's place as a paranormal legend.
And there you have it, the 10 most terrifying stories from around the world. Whether it's the ghostly wails of La Llorona, the tragic mystery of Dyatlov Pass, or the chilling black-eyed children knocking at your door, these tales reminds us that sometimes the scariest things aren't just in our imagination. If you love these stories and want to hear more, don't forget to click like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notification, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and whatever you do, don't look behind.